Evelyn was always running, chasing deadlines, juggling a demanding career, and struggling to keep her life together. So, when she found a forgotten antique shop tucked in an alley, she thought it was just another distraction. But the glint of an ornate pocket watch in the window pulled her in. The shopkeeper's cryptic words, "It chooses its owner," left her unsettled. She never expected the watch to change everything. Suddenly, time seemed to bend to her will, giving her control over every moment. But with every tick, something darker began to unfold. Time might not be as innocent as it seemed. The Vanishing Clock. Time was a luxury Evelyn always felt she lacked. Balancing her budding career as an investigative journalist with her failing relationship and mounting bills, she was perpetually chasing deadlines, both literal and metaphorical. So when she stumbled across the rusted antique shop tucked in an alley she'd never noticed before, she thought fate was playing a cruel joke. Yet, something about the glint of an ornate pocket watch in the window tugged at her. Inside, the air smelled of aged parchment and pine, the kind of scent that hinted at stories trapped within every object. Evelyn pointed at the watch. "How much for that?" she asked the shopkeeper, an older man whose eyes held storms of wisdom. He smiled thinly. "That one's not for sale." "Then why is it in the window?" she challenged. His gaze sharpened, and his voice dropped to a whisper. "It chooses its owner. If it's chosen you, it's yours." Before she could protest, he pressed the watch into her palm. The moment it touched her skin, a strange warmth radiated through her, and the ticking of the watch drowned out the sounds of the shop. The moment she returned home, Evelyn opened the watch, hoping to uncover its mystery. Inside the lid, an inscription read, "Time is not a gift, but a choice." "Well, that's vague," she muttered, setting it aside. She had an article due by midnight and no time for puzzles. Yet, when Evelyn began writing, she noticed something odd. Her fingers typed faster, her thoughts seemed to align perfectly, and the clock on her laptop barely ticked forward. By the time she finished the article, she'd only used up 5 minutes of real-world time. Was it a coincidence? Or had the pocket watch slowed time? The following day, Evelyn tested it again. She finished her morning errands in record time, met her editor's impossible deadline, and even squeezed in a long, overdue workout. With every tick of the pocket watch in her pocket, time seemed to expand for her alone. Life became manageable, almost perfect. She aced her assignments, patched things up with her boyfriend, and even started attending yoga classes. But then, something unsettling happened. One night, while researching a piece on missing persons in the city, Evelyn noticed something peculiar on the news. A local woman had vanished, the footage from her last known whereabouts showing her standing frozen in place, as if paused mid-motion, before she flickered and disappeared entirely. Evelyn's heart sank. She recognized the woman. She had seen her in the antique shop the day she bought the watch. The realization came crashing down on her, the watch wasn't a miracle. It was stealing time from others. Evelyn stormed back to the antique shop the next morning, but it was gone. The alley where it had been was now a blank brick wall. Panicked, she tried to throw the watch into the river, but it reappeared in her pocket minutes later. She couldn't get rid of it. Her anxiety worsened when strange things started happening to her. Time began to skip unpredictably. One moment she'd be pouring coffee, the next, she was already halfway through drinking it. People around her began aging prematurely, her elderly neighbor's wrinkles deepened overnight, and a coworker's hair turned gray within a week. Evelyn realized the watch wasn't just slowing time for her, it was stealing it from the world. Desperate, she reached out to her only confidant, Marcus, an old friend and historian with a penchant for the occult. He listened intently as she explained everything. "You're dealing with a cursed artifact," Marcus said grimly. "These objects feed on imbalance. If you've been gifted time, someone else has paid the price." "Then how do I stop it?" Evelyn asked. Marcus hesitated. "You have to break the cycle. But it's dangerous. If the watch binds to you, destroying it could mean my death," she finished for him. He nodded. Evelyn's resolve hardened. "Then help me figure out how to destroy it." The answer lay in the heart of the city, Marcus discovered, an abandoned clock tower rumored to be built atop ley lines, channels of mystical energy. Legend had it that anything time-bound could be neutralized there. But the journey was fraught with challenges. As Evelyn and Marcus approached the clock tower, the watch fought back. Time around them twisted and fractured. Streets rearranged themselves like a labyrinth, and hours passed in mere seconds. At one point, Marcus froze mid-stride, his body rigid as if caught between seconds. Evelyn screamed and shook him, but he didn't move. The watch ticked louder in her pocket, mocking her. "You can't have him," she hissed, clutching the watch. It was then she realized the watch fed on her choices. Every second she hesitated, it grew stronger. Reaching the clock tower felt like an eternity. The inside was a maze of gears and staircases, the air thick with the scent of rust and despair. At the center stood the heart of the tower, a massive pendulum swinging with agonizing slowness. Evelyn climbed to the platform above it, holding the watch tightly. The inscription echoed in her mind, "Time is not a gift, but a choice." She could destroy the watch, but at what cost? As if sensing her hesitation, the watch showed her a vision, a life without it. Her articles unfinished, her relationship in shambles, her fragile confidence crumbling under the weight of her old struggles. "You can't live without me," the watch seemed to whisper. But then Evelyn thought of Marcus, still frozen outside the tower. She thought of the people she'd seen vanish on the news. This wasn't about her. With a deep breath, she hurled the watch into the pendulum's path. The gears screamed as time itself seemed to shatter. When Evelyn awoke, she was lying outside the clock tower. Marcus was beside her, groggy but alive. "You did it," he murmured, his voice thick with relief. The watch was gone. Time flowed normally again, though Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that she'd aged years in the process. Life didn't magically fix itself afterward. Deadlines were hard again, her relationship remained a work in progress, and her mornings were as chaotic as ever. But for the first time, Evelyn felt free. Time wasn't a gift to hoard or a burden to fear, it was a choice she could live with, 1 second at a time. And that was enough.